Please welcome this evening's guest moderator, Peter Travers, and tonight's guests, Jason Bateman, Paula Patton, Alexander Skarsgard, and Henry-Alex Rubin.
Hi.
Okay,
Hi.
so what was that? Is he taking over?
Hello.
already? My God.
Peter, I have questions for you.
What is it? What is it you want to know, Jason?
It's a good-looking poster, isn't it?
It really is.
Handsome fellow there.
I don't know who's in the middle of it, but he looks interesting.
Well, if you look close. Where are you, Alex?
I didn't make it.
Thanks for coming, guys. I think we're going to talk
We are.
about
We've
the movie.
seen the trailer, but you haven't seen the movie. You're going to all go this weekend, right? That's the deal. So, well, it's part of the deal. They're here at the Apple Store. I'm going to start with you, Henry, since you did it. You're the filmmaker. What was it about this story that you had to tell? What was it about you saying, I'm not making a documentary now, I'm making a feature film with this disconnect? What was it?
This movie felt relevant to me when a lot of movies don't. This felt like it was rooted in today's world. And it also felt like 3 separate documentaries I would have actually been interested in making myself.
And it didn't come from anything about the digital world we live in? You're not somebody who's against the digital world? You're against how people could use or misuse it?
I think the writer who wrote the script is interested in the way in which we all communicate together now. In the past 10 years, things have changed a lot, and I think that's more what he was interested in. I'm not a Luddite. I'm on my phone constantly. I struggle with spending too much time on my phone. Most people around me do as well.
Is everybody on iPhones? Is everybody
Yes.
here
Of course.
tweaked?
Yes, we are.
Really? You're going to take them up and wave them in the air? Is that what's going to happen?
I didn't
got
bring
mine
mine
here.
with me. I don't have a pocket.
Okay.
I've got mine here. If you need to make a call.
Thank you, Jason. You're so kind.
Anybody that doesn't have it with them is really not addicted yet. It just hasn't happened.
Or you're wearing a dress.
Or you're wearing
That's
it.
it.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Jason. Yeah, it's good.
But the movie,
But
just
yeah.
to set the record straight, the movie is not anti-technology at all. It's the opposite of that. It's an exploration of technology and the way in which we communicate. It's really actually a thriller, and as its theme is, how do we talk to each other?
Well, we'll give everybody a little taste. There's 3 stories. There's 3 basic stories in the movie, and I wanted to start with Paula and Alex's story, even though Jason Bateman has seen fit to sit in between them, which will confuse
They're
you all.
not getting along.
Yeah, well, whatever the reason, still.
Jason and I have been texting. Alex doesn't know.
Any-
Awkward moment to find out.
Yeah,
We're working on the sequel actually right now.
But we're going to start by showing a scene from the Paula Alex story, and then they'll talk about it.
Wow.
Sexy.
So this is clearly a ripoff of Jason's identity thief film.
This is hilarious. It gets much funnier, you guys.
Yeah. Whoa.
I thought that was pretty funny,
I
actually.
didn't. So, will you two, without Jason, please explain who you're playing in your story?
I play Derek Hull, who's an ex-Marine. And,
Former.
yeah, he'll always be a Marine, but he's not in active duty. And you, my dear, are my wife. And Derek and Cindy met when he was in the Corps, and were very much in love, and everything was great. And then he did a couple of tours overseas, came back, and it's been really, he's been back now for probably around 8 years, and it's been really difficult for Derek to readjust and get back into the civilian world, and he feels emasculated. He works, he calls himself a paper pushing grunt. He hates his job. All his colleagues are idiots. His boss is mean to him. He's nothing anymore. And this is a guy who used to be a hero, a warrior, and Superman. And he's really struggling, like a lot of people that are coming back home. And that obviously affects their relationship. And like Henry said, it's not about the big bad internet. I don't think the internet is the problem here. I know it's not in this case. They cannot communicate with each other. They went through, we shouldn't talk about what happened, right?
Oh, you can say it.
What they lost?
Yes.
They lost a kid a couple of years ago, a child. And I think that was when Cindy was pregnant, that was a moment when Derek felt, all right, this is it. Finally, I got something. I'm a man again. I might not like my job, but I have a purpose now. I'm becoming a father. And then when they lose that kid, it's kind of, everything is just over for him. And he is completely shut off. He doesn't talk to Cindy. She can't communicate with him. And instead, and that's why I'm saying the internet is not the problem. I think it's an escape for both of them. Derek plays poker online. Cindy finds chat rooms she needs someone to talk to because her husband won't. So when this happens, when we find them, they're very, they've been drifting apart for a while. So I almost see it as a blessing in disguise, this identity theft, isn't it? Because that's kind of, when that happens, they've lost whatever, they didn't have a lot of money, but the little money they had, they lost. And that becomes suddenly, for Derek at least, it's like, ooh, I have a mission now. I'm going to go find this guy. This is reconnaissance. This is what I'm really good at. I haven't done this in 10 years, and I'm excited. And something happens in that moment. And I think, well, you can talk about how Cindy feels about that, but for Derek, that's a big moment.
Yeah, Paula, because your character is dealing with this bereavement therapy online, correct?
Well, when you meet Cindy and Derek, they've experienced a great loss, and the way two people deal with grief can be very different. And she loves her husband dearly. She wants so very much to connect with him and hold him, but he won't. And this is what is amazing about the internet, is that you can find like-minded people to express your grief with, people who are going through what you're going through, to console you. Misery does love company, unfortunately. But it also can help you heal. And the sad part is that we're living in this new world. I mean, nothing's going back. The internet's not changing. The digital age we're living in is not changing. It's only going further and farther. But this is really new for us as a human race. 10 years ago, my mom was not doing Facebook, and my grandmother and the great-grandmother, but now they are, and they know everything, And we're now entering this new world, and it's about how are human beings connecting in this new world. Have we changed emotionally? No. Back in the day, you would have gone to a support group and actually met somebody in person to talk to. But now you have this ability from your home to find a connection. Well, the problem is, of course, is that there's good people there, and then there's people that are out to con people. And what a perfect place to do it than a grief chat site and where people are there to console each other, who could be more vulnerable to a con, essentially. And so then you meet her, and all of a sudden, it's like anything between a man and a woman, or whatever your preference may be, the longer you talk, the more distant the person is in your home, you're gonna fall into something romantic, potentially. And then just as it steps over that line, they discover everything's gone. And then, like Alex is saying, the blessing in disguise is that, just like all of us know, is sometimes the hardest things in our lives, we look back at and we say, thank God for that. It made me stronger. Thank God for that. It strengthened our love. And that's what happens with them in many ways. They have to disconnect a little bit, because Derek knows that to physically go out there, I want to try to find this predator who's done this to us, because it seems as if it's the man I've been communicating with. And through that journey, they fall in love again.
So Henry, why these two? Why did you say they had to play these characters?
I'd seen Alex in Generation Kill playing Iceman Colbert, and this character seemed to me like Iceman 10 years later. 12 years later, in society, trying to make a go at it. and I met him, and he just seemed perfect for the role. He's the character of Derek is a real quiet, sort of simmering time bomb, and Alex is very capable of being quiet and simmering.
Are you simmering now?
No, I'm not. But I think I think that's one of the reasons. It's an amazing script and it's so intelligent and well written. But one of the reasons I connected and felt so strongly when I read, about Derek was because I spent 7 months in Africa shooting that Generation Kill and with Marines. And like Henry said, it felt like getting to know these guys, understanding how difficult it is for them coming home to the States after serving in the war. It really felt like this was kind of an extension of if not Brad Colbert, one of his best friends.
Right.
That's why it felt so important to me.
But the quick version of the story is that these two have lost their sort of connection, their flame, which happens often between couples. And when they get their identity stolen, the platoon leader in him decides to go hunt the guy down vigilante style because the cops aren't doing enough. And he decides to bring his wife on the road, or actually she wants to go on the road, make sure he doesn't get into trouble. And the misadventure that ensues is their plot line. And I'm not going to ruin the ending, but they both did a very brilliant job, and were both very, I think both of you, very surprisingly vulnerable in this film. And I want to thank you for that, vulnerability. I don't often see it.
You know what I was just thinking, because I got hired after Alex, was how funny it was, because I remember they were like, well, Henry would like to meet you via Skype. And I did what so many of us did. I was like, okay, an hour before the meeting, I was like, that's not good lighting. Okay, I set it up like a movie camera. It's like, this is the first time he's ever gonna meet me. Let's put the camera up. Wait, don't show the baby stuff. Let me figure out what's my best look. And that's the world we live in now, where when you talk to people, and I hope I'm not the only one who's trying to find the right lighting and my angle that would best
what was funny was
in Henry's.
The first angle was very epic. It was like you'd shown me the whole living room, and then the Skype went down, and when it went back up, it was a totally new angle.
I looked at it, I said, I have too much makeup on. I'm wiping it off.
Paul had a
working?
shot list.
I was like, this isn't working.
There's a
Thank
scene.
God it
There's a
went
scene
down.
in their film that I think everyone can relate to. The horror of is when the cyber detective, they hire a cyber detective to come over when the cops aren't doing enough and the bank's not doing enough. There are these personal guys that come over and they just try to figure out where you were scammed. And he asks for both of their laptops, and they both sort of look at each other, terrified, because your laptop now is your diary. It's where you write everything and where you store everything and where everything is stored. And so I think I've spoken to many people who have told me that their stomachs have sunk during that scene where you're both asked for your laptops, and they both try to make excuses like, "Oh, I need my laptop for work," and he says, "No problem, I'll just copy the hard drives right now," and then they can't get out of it, so they hand over their laptops, and then he comes back and he spills all of their secrets to each other, and that's really where the movie takes off. So that's their storyline, but there's two other storylines. I feel like
and
we
one
should
of
move
them
on. Should we?
belongs to him. Jason Bateman himself, wedged between this other story.
So let me just introduce Jason by saying that I grew up watching him and laughing with him and thinking this guy has such perfect comic timing, and comic timing usually means that you have great instincts, and great instincts usually means you can act. And like a lot of comedic actors that you just wonder if they'd be good dramatic actors. I always wondered that about you. I know you don't believe me, but you were my first choice for this movie. And the only thing I asked him to do was grow a beard, which he now has, again. Because I figured if he grew the beard, people would accept serious Jason Bateman more quickly than if you looked like your normal self. And I was astounded by his performance. It was very surprising, and I feel totally vindicated, and all of us do, by having you in the film. Thank you.
So it's a good
Thank you
cue
for asking.
to show this clip before Jason tells us what this experience was like and why it was Teen Wolf 2 that made you cast him. And I know that's true.
It was the hair.
I know, it really is. So can we show this clip? So Jason, who is this man? Who is this man you're playing?
I play a guy who is nothing super special. I think he's an attorney. I think, yeah. He's forget, you know, and he is very into his job and stays very connected through his devices, and he's not awful at being present for his family. I think he's probably pretty similar to most people. And the bad that goes on in his storyline, I don't think is directly as a result of him being sort of on his devices, but he is shaken up by something that his son gets involved with, which is he uploads a picture of himself, and it gets him in trouble. And I think kids are. Well, I think all of us are learning how quickly something can be disseminated. You know, as soon as you send out an email or a text or a picture or something, it's got a life of its own that you can't control. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Your character also is doing something very similar to Alex's character. You're on a mission, aren't you? The mission to find out who did this.
Yeah, he's trying to find out information that you, the audience, already knows. So I like that in movies. I like, as the audience member, knowing more than at times somebody in the movie. It's an interesting thing to sort of track and to follow, and so yeah. So he's trying to figure out how his son got into this predicament.
In terms of this being a dramatic role, is this something you had to adjust to? Is this something, because I've seen you, I always think of Juno as a dramatic role, actually, because it has a little bit of the bastard in you.
Yeah.
That is there.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very nice to be thought of. Thank you, Henry, for a dramatic part, because I don't do a lot of those. So I understand when I'm not at top of mind for those when it comes time to cast those parts. So maybe this will help that. But the comedy that I do, I hope, is not so broad that it's such a big leap to see me do something dramatic, because I try to keep whatever comedy I do kind of close to the middle line. I'm usually reacting to the person who is a bit more broad. So it's not a hugely different thing for me to do here as far as my effort goes, my process goes. I'm not one to work very hard anyway, so I just had to learn my lines and be on time, you know.
Sure.
But you had a lot of time then to sit around with Paula and Alex to discuss your different roles on this movie then.
Yeah, exactly. This is an ensemble, as we've been talking about. There's 3 different storylines, and the way that Henry designed the shoot of it was to shoot each storyline sort of in its completion before the next storyline started. So I think it was a 6-week shoot, and each storyline took roughly 2 weeks to shoot. So we didn't cross paths at all until, I mean, I met Alex 3 days ago. So it's kind of interesting. It's not super uncommon for you not to meet some people in a movie that you work on, but well, I'm glad I finally got my eyes on this guy.
Hello.
And it is no accident that I'm sitting between these two. Okay, this is over.
He found me sleeping
This
in
is
my car
happening
outside
now.
his house 3 days ago. That's how we met.
We're very, very happy. I
I
picked this out for him tonight. I think it was a great
He loves
choice.
me in blue. What can I say?
All right, Henry, I don't know how you controlled them. I don't know how any of this happened.
Me neither.
But you have a third story, and I think before we turn over the microphone to the audience, we should have a little setup of what that third story is, even though we have no representation of that story tonight.
I thought Andrea was coming. Did she get stuck in London doing with the Oblivion and stuff, or?
She's shooting a film right now with Inaritu.
But Jason, you can do those parts.
I can.
Yes.
I do a great Riceboro.
I know you do.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let me just shake out my hair.
No, Andrea's brilliant. She's if for those of you who don't know, she's a surging and very brilliant, up and coming surging. What you want to say? British actress who has not yet done a role in her own voice. She's such a master of accents. She's played Margaret Thatcher. She just played an IRA informant in Shadow Dancer. She played W.E. Wallace Simpson in W.E. in Madonna's film, where she had a continental accent. In our film, she has a slight Midwest twang. She plays a cable news reporter, but she's very transformative. A few people, after they saw the film, asked me where Andrea Riseborough was. That's how transformative she is. The story here is Andrea Riseborough plays a reporter who meets one of these kids online who is sort of ambiguously under 18, and she strikes up a relationship with him. And it's these websites that pop up sometimes when if you're ever on an off-color website, bomb-making sites or so. Suddenly someone will pop up and it'll be some strange person in some room somewhere. And this is apparently a huge industry on the internet. And there's no reason for me to know that, and I'm just waiting for Jason to make fun of the fact that I surf the web for porn, which I have done, but not very often.
Obviously.
For research purposes only.
Why?
But the point is that you get these people and they just do these shows, and you have to put your credit card in, and it's a huge industry online, and housewives do it. You see people in dorm rooms. We researched this world, and we even interviewed a kid who did this his whole life. And Max Theriot is the actor who plays that kid there sitting on the couch, who plays Kyle, who's the kid that she meets. And then she asks him if he would do a news report, a special about this world, and he agrees. And then all hell breaks loose after that. The FBI come knocking on the door, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the third storyline.
So now you know everything except having seen the whole film. And it is now your job to ask those questions that are in your head right now about this. While they're all here, simmering, fresh, ready.
Ready to pop.
Yeah, okay.
This film looks fantastic, and I'm really excited to see it. So I hope that you all won't mind if I really quickly ask an Arrested Development question for Jason, if that's okay. Jason, I'm just wondering, there was such a long pause between the show and the reboot of the show that's about to start, for which I'm sure we're all really excited. What challenges did you, as an individual and as an ensemble, face bringing those characters back to life after putting them to bed for so long?
Well, I don't think it was. First of all, the movie is very good, and it's really worth your evening money, not even just your matinee fare. Truly, and I think you'll see it towards the end of the year as well. Arrested was very easy to as far as playing those roles again. I mean, again, we don't work that hard on that show. We're all just a bunch of jackasses, and we just make each other laugh, and that's it. I think the only reason it took a long time to come back was that everyone was doing other stuff, because the show, gave us all, careers, frankly. And these episodes, I think you guys are going to really like, and it sets up the movie that that Mitch Hurwitz hopes to write. It's a 3-act story, and this is the first act in these episodes, and then the movie will be Act 2 and 3. So it's kind of like a hybrid thing. They're good.
Hi. How long did it take you to conceptualize the entire film from start to end?
Well, Andrew Stern wrote this script a year or two ago, and actually the producer's here. He can answer that exactly. But for me, it was all very quick. I read the script. I loved it. I met the producer, Bill Horberg, and we started making the movie very quickly. The one thing I might add is that the financier behaved very unusually in that he told Bill and I to cast whoever we wanted in this film, and that he was going to make the film anyway, so just get who you think is best, which I thought at the time this being my first experience making a fiction movie, that was very logical until Bill told me that that was very unusual, and I was very lucky. The cast is exactly who we wanted, and that's one of the things that excites me the most about this film. Not to segue, but it's just brilliant actors across the board, and performing in ways you haven't seen them before. 34 days. The shoot was 34 days.
What about when, as actors, you sign on to a movie, you meet Henry, you read a script, and then you see the movie? How close was what you signed on for, what you see up on that screen?
Well, I was so excited when I saw it in Toronto. He's the script, the story. It's a very, very human, raw, vulnerable story. I mean, the movie's about sort of human connections and human vulnerability. The technology of it is sort of a device through which these stories are sort of braid. What Henry brings to it, and what I think pardon the technological term, but the user experience is really framed up well by Henry, given his documentary background, because the way the film looks and feels and is paced and is cut together, it feels very much like this is really happening to these people, which is ultimately what we all go to the theater to be tricked into feeling. I was really, to answer your question, I was really, really excited when I saw it, because it's so well made and it's very visceral. So I feel very, very lucky to be part of it.
I always loved that movie Traffic. I don't know how many of you guys have seen that, and it's Traffic is very gripping, and it's also moving, that film, and its theme is addiction or the war on drugs. In the same way, this film is a thriller, and its theme is communication and the way we all talk to each other. And I would love to think of this film as an emotional thriller, because it is, and I hope it moves people who watch it.
I think it will, but
what helped me is I don't really like watching, especially the first or second time at a premiere or whatever. You watch something you're in, I find that horrible, because I always kind of dissect my performance, and I can't objectively say this works or this doesn't work. So I sit back and I'm like, oh man, why did I do that? That was way too much, and that was horrible. And oh, they chose that take? I'm miserable. Like, this is so bad. What was great about this was I felt that, of course, but only for a third of it, because there's 3 different stories. And we wrapped our stuff, like Jason said, we met 3 days ago in my car outside his house, 4 o'clock in the morning.
So generous.
Yeah. Invited him in, turned the AC on, listened to Journey.
It was cool, but it got hot.
It got hot.
Started
It got
cool.
steamy.
Guys, we're doing a bit, and it's going to keep going.
We live in my van now, down by the river. No, so I could actually really enjoy the other storylines, because I didn't know these people. I knew Andrew, but I wasn't there when they shot it. I wasn't part of it. And I think they're so good. I really do. They're really brilliant. I think it's pretty amazing that this is Henry's first film. The way that it's cut together, and the way he was able to pace it, to shoot 3 different storylines and then to cut it together where they're interwoven but not really, you did such a good job.
Well, thank you. First of all, Kevin Tent cut it together, and Lee Percy, not me. I wish I could take credit for that. This being my first film, I didn't know really what I was doing. I faked my way a little bit through it, and a few things I did to try to set it up so that I could handle it was I tried to shoot chronologically, so that I wouldn't get confused shooting, the last scene first. And we also kept it like shooting 3 separate movies, so that I would get to know the actors, work with the actors, and then take a break and move on to the next story. In terms of the way I shot it, not really having film school knowledge or knowledge of how you do, shot, reverse shot, master. I just shot it like I shoot my documentaries, which is with 2 cameras pretty much at all times, long lenses from far away, watching people. That way they can do and say whatever they want, and it always cuts together.
Well, I have to tell you that you're not giving yourself enough credit. Working with Henry was an amazing experience, unlike anything I'd ever experienced. And that's what's so great about the film, is that he did approach it as a documentarian. But what was so cool as an actor would be that I'd be alone in the house doing a scene, and I was truly alone. Usually when you make a movie, there's like 50, 60 people behind you, in front of you, or behind the camera, and craft service and all that. But he would put the cameras outside windows, and you wouldn't even know they were there. So you really felt alone in the house experiencing this. And for me, it was the most satisfying acting experience I have yet to have, because there's nothing quite like that. You're not intrusive with the camera. And I think what makes this film so special is that he approached it like a great documentarian would, which is to just present the facts. You all will leave with whatever you want to think about it, how it makes you feel, and if it changes your heart or your mind. But he gives all of that power to the audience, and in no way hits you over the head with any of his own opinions. He just lays it out for you. And it was a really special, amazing experience. First time, 100th time, whatever it may be. This man's a great filmmaker. He did a movie called Murderball that I watched before I even read the script. That's brilliant, and he was nominated for an Oscar for. He is a truly special director that we're going to see a lot more great things to come from. It's true.
Thank you. Well, I gotta say first, this is a great group of people. This is crazy. Peter, you're a hero of mine. Paula, you're way too beautiful. And Alex, you look so fresh. But I gotta say, this for Jason and Henry. Jason, you're talking about like comedy versus drama. I'm a film student and aspiring director. So how are you directed differently? Because I know a lot of comedy is instinct and timing, and drama, you really got to probe deeply in your character, and you can also maybe shed some light. How do you differently direct those two genres, do you think?
Yeah, what I learned was that to stay out of the way of these guys. They have their own instincts. Once in a while I might give a note, but Jason came very well prepared. He had his opinions about what a father would feel like if his son or daughter was harassed online. And I just photographed Jason. I may have sometimes given alternative ideas to how to play a scene, but I stayed out of his way, and it was riveting. I love moments when you're watching through the monitor and your whole crew is bored, but you're riveted. And that's a lot of the acting that he did was very tiny stuff. There are scenes where Jason is IMing with someone else, and that's not very exciting cinematically to watch someone IM. But we decided to just show the actors' faces really big on screen, and I was mesmerized by how much he could do with very little. So bottom line, I tried to stay out of his way and try to be a collaborator. And when he got too funny, I was like, stop. Okay, just stop.
You have that card, though, don't you, Jason? That says "Stay out of my way." You use on every film. Yeah.
Shush.
Yes. Oh, that was it. Yeah.
All right. I have two questions. One for Henry, one for Jason. As the guy before me said, I'm also an aspiring film director, and Henry, I want to know, what's it like being a director? I would imagine that's a supreme feeling for, I've directed a couple shorts with some friends, but I want to know what it's like to be on a feature film,
Yeah, I didn't realize. I wish someone had told me to get a lot of sleep before I made this film. Okay, if I were to go do this again, I would just sleep for a few months before we shot this, because I didn't sleep at all. Directing is just a series of solving problems. That's the first level of directing. You're just constantly throwing obstacles. Things. Oh, the bus didn't show up. The sun has set. And so you try to figure out how to make do without the sun or the bus that didn't show up. So that's really all I was thinking about. And then when I got off set, I was thinking about the next day. And then I would fall asleep, usually in my clothes. Someone would be pounding on the door or ringing the doorbell like, "You're late." And I'd be running downstairs with my shoes unlaced, jumping into the back of the car to try to make it and be comprehensible once I got to set. That's the truth.
And for Jason, what drew you to this film? Was it something you could personally relate to? What made you want to act in this film?
Well, the people involved with it are great, and the script is great, and I'm not asked to do drama. And I mean, the real simple, tired answer is that you always kind of want to do something different. I think in any career, I think you always want to try to do something a little bit different. Otherwise, it just gets monotonous. So the fact that the people were so good and the script was so good was kind of icing on the cake. I was eager to do something dramatic.
Hi. So just a little fun question here. These characters all have their own vices with technology. So what are your own personal addictions online or something like that?
One that I can talk about. I love astrologyzone.com. I'm that girl. I like to read my astrology every day. I love it. So that's one of my addictions. Today's supposed to be a good day, by the way.
I like to Google Jason Bateman.
And so do I.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. I just want to say one last thing. I hope you guys go see this movie. They all answered why they think they did this movie. I think this movie shows a side of all three of these actors you've never seen before. And I'm very excited for everyone to see those sides of these guys. So please go see the film. Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you very much.